Hey guys, Coach Ben with Bellucci Basketball Academy. Today I'd like to take a minute to share with you guys my journey, my personal journey from being a basketball player to where I'm at now. It's not always just about playing basketball, but it's what you're gaining from the game in itself. One of the things that I learned was basketball was much bigger than a game. Like I always tell everybody, it gave me the opportunity to find my best friends, my wife, my business, and basketball has just been the greatest gift in the world. I got to see, parts of Europe, parts of Asia, and it's just been really special. So, I started off really young. I was about 6, 7 years old, and I watched an old video of Pistol Pete Maravich. He was a famous basketball player in the 70s, really flashy, probably the most innovative guy back in that era. Was the first guy kind of going between his legs and throwing no-look passes. And ever since then, that kind of like inspired me and sparked me to play basketball. So from then, I became absolutely obsessed with the game. I was out in the rain shooting for hours and hours, and in the snow. I remember, there was days where it was so cold and the net would freeze, and I would be outside shooting, and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, every time I make it, it's stuck in the net. Now I got to cut the net. So I'd cut the net, and find ways just to get good repetition up. And I realized then that I had a really deep passion for the game. From there, I went to play basketball at CNS, and I was actually going to a private school at the time. And it's funny, I left the private school because there wasn't any basketball team. So I went to CNS High School, began my high school journey there, and played as a junior, was really productive, and then as a senior, I was one of the top scorers in the state of New York.
Quickness, and see how he continues to get out and run. See the lane he's running? That creates some motion right there for Bellucci. What a nice finish. A reverse, a little flip back reverse with his right hand. Good hands, good finish.
23 points a game so far. That leads the league. He's a pretty big guy at 6'3" to handle the ball so well in the open court like he did.
Yeah, he showed some good quickness. He steps in, missed it. Ranieri, the rebound. CNS still looking to run. Oh, look at the pass and the slam. Whoa.
And I attracted a few colleges, but I didn't really have the best grades. I wasn't pushed in that direction, so I didn't have the opportunities like I imagined. My whole goal, I think any basketball player's goal, is to play Division I school and then go to the NBA. Well, that didn't happen for me. I went to a small junior college in Pennsylvania called Lackawanna, where we had about 30 people a game in the stands. So from there, I transferred to a junior college. It was actually a Division I school called Cuesta, which was located in California. And there was, full of talent. We had guys on that team, after they finished up their college career, we had about 6 guys play professional basketball. We played against a few guys who were in the NBA. So that conference was just as competitive as a really, mid-major Division I conference. But junior college is only 2 years. So from there, I got recruited by a handful of schools: Wagner, Sacred Heart, St. Joseph's. So it was starting to all kind of come together. And then I found out when I was ready to transfer to these schools that my credits were non-transferable. So I ended up going back. I ended up coming back home to Syracuse, New York, where I sat out for a year, try to get my grades to a certain point where I could transfer to a scholarship school, and it didn't work out. So I went to SUNY Brockport, and I started my career there. I had 2 years left, and Coach Whitmore at the time gave me an opportunity to go in there and finish out my college career. And I was an All-American my senior year. I was one of the top scorers in the whole country. I scored 1,000 points in 2 years. And from then I started getting some looks from agents overseas. I'd get emails, I was invited to exposure camps. And then from there, I got my first job actually, and this is kind of what I want to talk about, with a friend of mine who used to play for Indiana by the name of A.J. Moye. They played in the Final Four versus Duke. He was their captain. Bobby Knight, the legend, speaks all about him in his books. He actually contacted me and said, "Hey Ben, I have an agent who's interested in working with you. He wants to see your film. So I sent my film to the agent, and it was between me and another guy, and the team in Iceland saw something in me through the video that they thought I would be an intricate part of their team. So ended up going out there late, I think it was actually early January, and the team was like 0-8, 0-10. They didn't win one ball game. And short story is we ended up winning the championship that year. I was MVP and then of the country, and then from there I was able to receive more exposure to some bigger countries. So from there I went to Romania, was an all-star there. Then I worked out with a team in Treviso, Italy, and then Scavellini. And then after my career from Romania to going to Italy, my body just broke down and came back to Syracuse, New York, and started working with a handful of basketball players. I got asked by one kid locally from the Liverpool area if I could work him out. And within a week later, I got a call from a handful of his buddies, and then 9 years later, I've been running a basketball academy in Syracuse, New York. So I guess what I want to touch on is, I'm telling you my journey, not to brag or to boast, but to show you that basketball is much more than a game. Throughout that journey, I met in California my best friend Boris. In high school, I grew up with my best friend Frank, and I met all of my buddies who were my best man at my wedding, all through basketball. Met my wife in the Cayman Islands because I went out to visit Boris, my teammate in California. Every year I go out and see him in the Cayman Islands, which is in the Caribbean, which is thousands of miles away. And there I am, and I meet my wife on the beach because of that. So, I want you guys to understand it's not always about going Division I and straight to the NBA, because the percentages are very low. And the message I want to share to you is get as much as you can from basketball. Build those relationships, use your network, do the right things, and continue to be relentless in your approach. My thing is I went Division I, II, and III, and I still got to play overseas, even though my ultimate goal was the NBA. And it's not easy. So, if I could share one thing with you that I learned from the game is it's a gift. And now how you use that gift is up to you. You can, what basketball does is it attracts people. And that's what the whole thing is about. How many lives can you touch through basketball? And how much can basketball give you outside of the game? I think that's the most important thing. So, when you're playing the game, sometimes stop, look around, take a deep breath, and say, look at all it's brought me, and look at all the people. And that's my message I want to share with you guys is, take basketball as a gift outside of the court. Check out our website, BBA315.com.